Masters of the Universe Genesis is coming, and I'm here to talk about it with the writer, Rich Douek. I'm excited to have you here. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Dingus Den.
Welcome to the Dingus Den, everybody. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you like what you see here. And more importantly, welcome here onto the Dingus Den, Rich. Great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
So, so obviously the main thing that we're going to be talking about is Masters of the Universe Genesis, which is coming out soon. Actually, at the time of recording, I saw the final order cutoff is in like about a couple of weeks.
Yep.
And so that's exciting, getting ever closer. So we're going to be delving into that. But also just some other things that just recently I posted a review. Day of recording, actually, I posted a review of Road of Bones. And so we'll touch on that a little bit later, but we're just going to be mainly talking about Masters of the Universe and stuff like, and just kind of, have fun with that. And yeah, I'm excited to learn more about this project. But before we delve into Masters of the Universe specifically, I want to kind of just start with a couple general questions, such as first being, how'd you get started on your comic making journey? What made you want to be a comic writer?
Yeah, well, I've always I read comics, growing up. I was really, when I was a kid into the superhero comics and all that stuff. And then I went away from it for a while, but kind of came back to it as an adult with a lot of the Vertigo titles.
Oh, sure.
And the more, I guess you call them quote unquote grown up kind of comics.
Sure.
But it really kind of opened my mind to the fact that comics could be anything. It didn't just have to be superheroes punching each other, which I love, but I had never really kind of made the connection of this is something, they were one thing in my head, and then when I grew up, I kind of expanded what they meant to me. And then at the same time, I had always been kind of wanted to write, and I had in my head that I wanted to write a novel or a fantasy epic or something like that.
Sure.
And I just kept getting started and stalling. I have tons of unfinished drafts of books. I would just sort of run out of steam around chapter 7 or something.
Sure.
Yeah, and then just sort of one day I was just well, this writing prose doesn't seem to be working out really well. I wonder if I will take to writing comic scripts any easier. And I didn't really know how to write a script or anything, so I started really small with just a 5-page story. And then I was just sort of you know what, I've done the work of done the work of writing the script, so let me just scrounge up some money and get these 5 pages drawn by an artist. And if I love it, great. And if I don't, then
Sure.
I don't have to do it anymore, right? But it turns out once that art started hitting my inbox, it was just electric. It was just so cool to see somebody take what I put on the page and really bring it to life. So I think when that first short story came in, I was just okay, well, this is what I'm doing now. I was just hooked. So so I just kept writing some more short stories, did some work for anthologies and things like that, just getting published where I could. And then eventually, after many years of self-publishing and stuff like that, I eventually did get breakthrough with one of the comic publishers. And since then have just been building a body of work.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's cool being able to see having both stuff with now Dark Horse and IDW, which are very, notable publishers out there, and being able to see all that work, which is really cool. And so, yeah, that's awesome. So So, to anybody that would want to break in now into the current modern comic industry, do you have any advice for people like writers or artists?
Yeah, I think, you know, you're going to hear a lot, I think, from people that it's never been a better time to break in. And I think
Mhm.
it's true in some ways, not true in others. Like I think the difference today, even from like when I broke in, which is doesn't seem like that long a time, but it's been about like 10 years, which is
Okay.
kind of crazy. Um, but I would say like the difference today is like there's a lot more out there.
Mhm.
Like there was a lot out there when I was breaking in, don't get me wrong, but it's like exponentially more out there. So it's
Sure.
like so the good part about that is that the barriers are have never been lower. Like you don't really need anybody's permission to do your comic. You don't really need sorry,
You're good.
you don't like you don't need to like do the traditional publishing route if you don't
Mhm.
want to. You can go on Kickstarter, you can make a webtoon. There's just so many more avenues to like
Right.
get your work out there. Um, and that's great, but kind of like the monkey's paw part of it is that everybody's doing it too, so
Mhm.
it's much harder to like stand out in
Right.
among the sea of stuff. But that being said, it's like the one thing that's consistent, I think, from when I broke in, from when like people that broke in before me, the one thing that's consistent is it's like when people read something and they like it and tell their friends about it, it's like, you know, that's kind of just how you build it. It's like there's no kind of like wave magic wand, like, you know,
Sure.
you write your webtoon and then you get the phone call like, hey kid, we want you for Batman. You know what I mean? Like it
Sure.
doesn't happen that way. It's like you just build it reader by reader and, you know, project by project. And every project you're getting a little bit better, every project you're getting a few more readers. And then sooner or later, it's like you look up and you're like, oh wait, I kind of am broken in. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Uh, so I think it's like you kind of have to just do the best you can to like put aside like the kind of like I guess like Holly or like movie image of like, you know, like you're gonna get your big break.
Right.
Like I don't know, like yeah, breaks happen, but it's like it's much more common to just be like sort of like you just sort of have it's like you're building it brick by brick by brick. And
Mhm.
I don't and even though I think that like I said, there's like a lot of stuff out there, but I think it's like if you love comics, it's like it's very valuable to like do like make your own comic and express yourself and, you know, make some art and, you know, collaborate with people. It's a very rewarding process in and of itself, even if it doesn't like wind up being like you know, your main career
Sure.
or anything like that. So I think it's like it's a really great thing to do. So I encourage everybody who wants to break in to like focus on that part as much as you can. Like just keep expressing yourself and keep making the best things you can make, and like
Mhm.
eventually like all that stuff like hopefully will come.
That's awesome. I think those are great words, especially as somebody who is interested in writing something. I am quietly working on something, a little secret to everybody watching, but I think that's really cool. And
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
those are awesome like words of encouragement and anybody that is interested to, go out and do it. I think that's the big thing about not just the comic industry, but the entertainment industry in general right now is that bar is low everywhere, right? Even to
Yeah.
make a video game, like you just need like a mid of the line or even lower line PC. You can still make a video game nowadays,
Yeah.
right? And
You make a
so,
video game, you can make a movie, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
like, you know, like that dude that just his name's escaping me, that dude that made Backrooms, like which
Oh,
made
yeah,
millions of dollars. Like that just started with him like making YouTube shorts,
yeah,
you know, like probably in his basement or something. And
hmm,
you know, it's like you never know where it's going to take you.
yeah,
And but like it's like, but if you don't do it, like it's going to take you nowhere. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
it's like so you just got to like yeah, just keep taking shots
Yeah,
and see what hits.
yeah, yeah. It's really important. So that's awesome. And so, yeah, just keep on building up, and then at some point, maybe people could take those words and then work on Masters of the Universe, like you
Yeah,
have now
you never
doing. And
know.
so, Masters of the Universe Genesis, give everybody the elevator pitch of like what exactly is this series?
Okay, so Dark Horse is running a Master of the Universe series right now that Tim Seeley and Riley Brown are doing, and it's like kind of what you would expect your standard Master of the Universe thing. It's like it's got He-Man, it's got Skeletor, like fighting over the Sword of Power, and like it's really kind of like a reboot, like a new continuity of like Master of the Universe. What our book is, Genesis, is sort of like taking that reboot and like kind of rewinding it a few years. So we're seeing how a lot of like the major players, aside from He-Man, got to like it's almost like not really telling their origin stories necessarily, but it's sort of like setting up like the our version of Eternia like in the series.
Okay.
So what we're doing, Gavin, Fabi, and I, is we are telling the story of Skeletor in the first 3 issues, and we're talking about how Skeletor came to Eternia. What's he doing on Eternia? Why does he want the power of Grayskull? How does he go about doing that? Like in Master of the Universe, Skeletor's got this whole like kind of army of like evil henchmen, like Beastman and Merman and Trapjaw and like all. So it's sort of like I think what we're trying to answer with these 3 issues, it's like, well, how did he get the band together? You know what I mean? Like what circumstances did they kind of like all come together? Why are they following Skeletor? Just sort of like filling in like a little bit of the backstory that'll give you a much like stronger view of like what Skeletor's character is like in this series. And then at the end of that 3-issue arc, we're handing it off to another creative team who's going to be doing the same thing with like one of the other secondary characters. I don't know if I'm allowed to say who, so I'm just going to type caution. Not, but you'll probably find out in like a month or 2. Like they'll announce like issue 4.
Gotcha.
But yeah, like the whole thing is it's really just sort of like like just having fun with like Skeletor and like just really kind of giving him the spotlight and showing like who he is, why he's doing what he's doing. He-Man's not even in the story, so we don't even like worry about that. So so it's pretty cool. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I love Skeletor. He is one of my personal favorite villains of all time, and so I think it's really cool to actually have a Skeletor story. And finding out that's like a full-on 3-issue arc, I think is exciting as well. It has me excited to check it out. Knowing that it's just Skeletor, so I'm there for it.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites too, and that's why it was like a real joy to write it because like it's a character I've known for like decades and loved. Like he's just iconic. Like to the point of like I even love like Skeletor memes and stuff like that. They're hilarious. You know what I mean? But I think it was just like a really fun project because like the other fun part of it was like we really kind of had like the whole Master of the Universe like setting was like an open book for us. So it was like, oh, like you want to use this character, you can use this character. You want to draw like so and so into a panel, like like go for it. You know what I mean? So Gavin and I were like able to like really like put all of our favorite toys in, stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
So you didn't like have anybody that like you couldn't use. It was everybody was on the table for you.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like technically, like I did write an outline, so it's not like there were any like, it's not like I was like dropping any surprises on Dark Horse or Mattel or anything, but nobody at any point said no, you can't use that person. Nobody said like, they're off limits. And then like once the outline got approved, it was like there was no problem.
Sure.
So yeah,
that's cool. I like hearing that you had that creative freedom of kind of you're able to tell the Masters of the Universe story that you wanted to tell throughout these issues.
Absolutely.
So I think that's cool to hear. I'm not gonna lie, I've been so out of the loop of anything Masters of the Universe comic related. I didn't realize that there's a new series and stuff coming out. I mean, I've seen Tim's been writing a lot of stuff with it.
Mhm.
And I've known there's been a lot, but I think like the last thing I read was like the Netflix tie-in to Kevin Smith stuff. I know they did
Yeah.
that, and so
No, I
that's
mean, like
cool.
Tim's like a Masters of the Universe like freak. This is like his dream job to be like, or like, you know, being like the architect of like his
Mhm.
own like continuity of Eternia and Masters of the
Mhm.
Universe. So I think that really shows through in like the work he's been doing. Like the book itself is like great, but it's just really fun to geek out with him like over this stuff. Like it's kind of how I got the job, is that like we just both happened to be in San Diego Comic-Con last year, and I had heard he was doing it. We were talking about it, and we were talking about Skeletor and and the possibility of like doing this series, and I was just like oh like the way I would do it is like I would love if Skeletor was like, I don't want to spoil anything, but like, you know, such a, you know, blah blah blah, and he's like, yes, like that's amazing, like, and he should totally be, you know, blah blah blah, you know, yada yada yada, and like just like going back and forth. I think that's really kind of what uh made it go from being just sort of like, you know, just this offhand like wouldn't it be cool kind of conversation to
Mhm.
like I think like we that was like Friday night, and then like Saturday I swung by the Dark Horse booth and was talking to Brett, the editor, and he's like, okay, so I guess we're doing Skeletor, and I'm like, yeah. So I was like, I don't want to tell you, but it's like, you know, but like apparently like Tim had spoken to him already, and we had like so we had we got that all set up, which was very cool.
No, I think that's awesome. Hearing all that came together, and and just what a dream too, being able to work on Skeletor. So, because I know if there was any Masters of the Universe character I'd want to write, he'd be my number one pick too. So,
Oh, he's definitely like the most fun, like him, just because it's like like you could just go over the top, like
Mhm.
and and it reads like you know, there's nothing you there's nothing you could have him do where it's like, no, that's a little much. It's like, no,
Yeah,
he's just the evil guy.
yeah,
it's like I guess similar to writing like, you know, Doctor Doom or something, where it's like, yeah, like he's gonna be grandiose, and he's gonna have like big villain speeches and
right.
you know, stuff like that. And I just find that stuff like so much fun to write.
I could definitely see that. He's always just such a fun character to see on screen, and I'm excited to see how he's going to translate into this. So that's cool. So, like with Skeletor being the focus character, what was key to you that you had to make sure was included with writing such an iconic character?
Well, you know, like we didn't, we had to kind of, it's not like anybody told us like what to do, but, you
Sure.
know, we wanted to really kind of have him feel like familiar, you know, like
Mhm.
obviously it was going to be our own take, but, you know, we wanted people who are fans of the character to be able to read it and be like, yeah, that's Skeletor. Like it might
Mhm.
not be exactly the same as the Skeletor from the 80s cartoon. It might not be Jared Leto's interpretation, but it's like,
Sure.
but that's Skeletor. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like so just the essence of it is just, you know, I always the thing I always loved about Skeletor, and what I really like thought about it is just that it's like he's just evil. You know what I mean? Like he's
Sure.
not like I really didn't want to kind of give him like this kind of like backstory where like, oh, like he went to sorcery school and all the other kids were mean to him, and he lost his dad, or like
Right.
all
Sure.
like anything like that where you'd be like, okay, like I
Mhm.
get why
Yeah.
I get, I understand why he wants to, like, you know, take over the world, take over the universe. You know what I mean? Like I really didn't want to make him like a sympathetic character, because one of the fun things about him to me is just that it's like he's the bad guy and he loves being the bad guy, and he doesn't
Yeah.
want to be like, you know, redeemed. So that was like something I always really kept like in the front of my mind as I was like writing him.
Mhm.
And and yeah, like I think it's like it's almost like you have to kind of like thread the needle, because it's like if you do exactly what like you want it to have the essence of like the character, but if you do exactly what was done before, it's sort of like, well, what's the point of me even reading this as a fan?
Sure.
It's like I've already seen it. But then if you go too far off, it's like, are you even writing Skeletor anymore? You know what I mean?
Right.
Or are you even writing the character? So it's like you might as well just like write your own thing. So it's like you just sort of like, I think with Skeletor, or like any kind of like time when I'm writing a character with like a legacy or a character that's not my own, it's like I'm always really just trying to find that balance of like taking it in a somewhat new direction, but also having it feel like really authentic to what's come before. So,
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the most important thing, right? Is being able to have the character feel like who they're meant to be and not disrespecting all the years of history, especially when we talk about somebody that came, from the 80s, right? That's
oh yeah, that's like,
a while
I mean,
ago.
that's insanely. I mean, like I was alive at the time, so I can't like. It's a little scary to think like how long ago it was, but it was a long time ago. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I was reading something where it was like, the movie Back to the Future.
Yeah.
So it's like, Back to the Future, like was in the 80s, and he travels back 30 years, and he's in the 1950s. Where it's like if they made Back to the Future today, he wouldn't even be going back to the 80s. He'd be going back to the 90s. It's like, it's like it's just crazy, like how much time that is. You know what I mean? Because when you think of it, I mean, like the 1950s feels like medieval times. Like already, it's crazy.
That's funny. Yeah, no, I remember when 2015 hit and everybody was comparing that to, Back to the Future, being like, oh yeah, now there's a future here, and almost none of it was real.
Yeah, there's no flying cars, there's no, like printing like your own clothing or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah. But
how it is.
yep. What can you do?
Right, exactly. Well, it's interesting too, because I've been seeing a lot of talk recently about Masters of the Universe, of people just talking about if it's still a, sort of relevant property. Obviously there's all the controversy and stuff going on with the movie going on, and its whole performance that's, happening with that. But I mean, I thought the movie was really good. Did you went to see it, right?
I saw it. Yeah, I liked it a lot. I thought it did a really, like, I just thought like it was a lot of fun. Like it was like a popcorn movie, like it's not really like, I wasn't going in expecting anything deep. And I think like, but what impressed me about it was like how they kind of did address like the kind of like childish cartoony elements of it. You know what I mean? Like they didn't really shy away from the fact that like there's a dude named Fisto and there's a dude named Ram Man, and like that is objectively ridiculous.
Right.
And it's objectively ridiculous to expect like, a like, an adult person to like be like, that's cool, Fisto, you know what I mean? Or like even an 8-year-old like would be like, Fisto, what the fuck, Dad? You know what I mean? Okay. I don't know if I want to curse. But,
no, you're fine.
But like, I just thought it was like a very clever, like the way that they addressed it in the movie, I thought was very clever, and I just appreciated that. And I just thought it was just a good time. You know what I mean? Like, I thought it had a lot of heart, which I think is like important to me.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about like relevance, it's like, nothing's relevant until it is. You know what I mean? It's like if you look at like Marvel movies, like, okay, yeah, like, sure, like I will buy that, an Iron Man movie will do well. I will buy that a Thor movie will do well.
Right.
I'll buy that a Spider-Man movie will do well. Any of the Avengers rosters can like carry a movie, but it's like, but were the Guardians of the Galaxy relevant? Like, you know what I mean? Like they were not. They were never like this like huge selling comp that had like legions of fans. It's like,
right.
But they made the movie,
That's true.
And all of a sudden they were relevant because people
Yeah.
liked it, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's, you know, it just really comes down to like, does it connect with people? Like,
Yeah.
does it really matter?
I think there's a couple elements to it. I think first and foremost, the thing that I think a lot of people are overlooking is we've seen a lot of cases this year of, or I should say especially this year, but definitely over the last few years of just the industry, movie industry, really like just struggling in general. Like we're seeing all these big franchises, they're getting good overall good review scores and good audience scores, but like word of mouth isn't doing it, right? Like I think the same thing just happened with like Mandalorian and Grogu, and like I personally love that movie too, and it was just like they're all good in my opinion, but like just people aren't caring for certain movies. But you're always going to have your big, you know, special breakouts. You're always going to have your anomalies, but it's just a case of
it's like
a lot.
I mean I think just the movie going industry is like it's just a lot different than it was even like 10 years ago. Like
For sure.
you know, like COVID really screwed with the whole business model, and I don't think it's like all the way back yet, if it's ever coming back. But it's just like people just really got used to like watching stuff at home, you know, like at their leisure, and you know, just the huge opening weekend has just become a lot like harder to chase. You know what I mean? And you've also like we've gotten to the point, not just with like movies, but with like everything. It's like kind of like the state of the internet is like everybody arguing about everything all the time. You know what I mean?
It's so annoying, especially with Master of the Universe in general, because I think that's the other thing that hurts is there's certain franchises, it's like anything comes out regardless if it's good or not, people are gonna hate on it, you know? And
it's like people like are sharpening their knives, like getting ready to like, you know, jump in the fight.
It's like you have one bad project, everybody's like, oh, this is garbage, all of it's garbage, right? And
Totally.
And
you know, I mean, like to Amazon's credit, like from what I've been reading, like they're looking at more than just like the box office numbers. You know, they really want to kind of put a lot behind it. Like there's I think they're still going to be doing a sequel, there's going to be doing some animated shows and things like that. So it's like, you know, they're not really kind of like letting like the numbers sort of like dictate the entire fate of it. You know what I mean? Like, I think that they're taking like a longer view, which I mean, you know, like as much as it pains me to like give Amazon credit, like I do give them credit for that. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, that's the thing is I always get I should say I get annoyed with the box office talk a lot of times. Just because it's just like that's not always what it's about, because it's always annoying of like, you won't ever know all the factors of what goes into it, right? Like you don't know ever truly how much you spend, and then there's all the tax breaks that happen, because like I was reading something that like the movie might get like a quarter of its like budget back or something because of its tax break, and that's a significant, you know, amount there. And so
but
and then
and it's just it's like it's not like any of us out there like have like a horse in the race. You know what I mean? It's like like I mean the only stakes to like you or me or anybody out there is it's like, are we going to get like more Master of the Universe movies or not? You know what I mean? So it's like it's not like a movie doing bad is going to like, you know, affect us. Like we're not making money, we're not losing money. So it's just like so weird to like just see all the like you know, arguing over it as if like, you know, some random person on the internet like has like a couple of $1 million that they invested in the movie and just like writing on it. You know what I mean? It's like a little weird.
But that's the thing, is I just want to be a fan of it, you know? I think overall with all these good with all the projects that we're getting across all the mediums, I think like overall like the quality I think is still at least solid across the board. I feel like. And so I think it's just a good time to be a fan of kind of no matter what you are right now, which brings me like really happy to say, you know? So
I think even if you're not like a fan of like the specific thing, it's like, you know, I think I just like personally like I like Star Wars, I like Marvel, I like DC, but it's like, but when that's like the only thing out there, like it just gets tiring after a while. So it's like, you know, like I think like the more things that are out there, like I would love to see like more like original stuff, but it's like, but even like stuff that's like, you know, franchises like He-Man or like Dune or, you know, like it's just nice to like kind of have like different flavors to like pick from, you know what I mean?
For sure.
It just, I think like, even if it's stuff that like I'm not like personally a fan of, I appreciate it when there's more choices out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with all that. It's So, bring it back to Masters of the Universe. Well, you know, we'll talk about the broader sort of sense. What did you think of the Kevin Smith series? Were you a fan of that at all?
I didn't watch it until recently when I was kind of doing my homework for and but I mean I enjoyed it. Like it was very different than the original series, but I think if like, and I could see it not being your typical Master of the Universe fans cup of tea, but I think it's like if you can kind of approach it like a as its own thing and kind of like put whatever expectations you had for it like aside,
Sure.
and just sort of like I think it was like well made and well done. So it's like, again, it's like one of those things where it's like it's a little hard for me to get in the head of like some fans, because it's like, you know, as a writer, it's like when I take on like a property, it's like I kind of have to be like a little bit objective, you know what I mean? Because it's like, 'cause I know kind of like how the sausage is made and stuff like that. But it's like, I know there are people out there that like kind of like hold these things like sacred, the way they kind of like almost like the way they hold like they might hold the Bible sacred or like something like that, you know what I mean? Where it's like if it's different from like what they want, it's almost feels like they're being personally attacked, you know what I mean? But I think it's like, so I understand that perspective, and I understand why why the Kevin Smith series pissed a lot of those fans off. But it's just sort of like, you know, I don't think Kevin Smith or anybody involved went into it with the intention of like, let's ruin He-Man for everybody. You know what I mean? It's like they're just trying to taking a swing, like trying to tell the story like their own way, and it's exactly like what we're doing with the series, and it's exactly like what everybody does when they take on one of these properties. It's like, you know, you're trying to like find that balance between like, you don't want to just retread everything that was done before. You know, you want to do something new, but you want to kind of like honor like the spirit of the original stuff. So
I was personally a big fan of it. I thought it was pretty good, and I know everyone's going to flame me now for saying that. You know, you know, that's how it is. You also got to love too when my Twitter barely gets any traction, and then the one post that does in the last maybe even several months actually is me saying I like Masters of the Universe, the movie, and then people come after me like, what, you know, how dare you like it? It's like, okay,
I know. It's like you can't even say you like anything anymore without like people like jumping on you. But I don't know. That's what the block button's for, right? So.
Right. Yeah. Block anybody that just annoys you. That's how it is. I
Mute
don't want that
them.
negativity, you know?
I like the muting, because the muting, it's like they're not like, they didn't, you know, they don't know that I'm just ignoring them. So it's fine.
Exactly. No, there's some people that I follow and respect, but I see them and I'm like, I'm just gonna mute you. I don't want your negativity here. That's the thing. I just don't like the negativity. I like to try to be positive when I can. Obviously, I think it's important to critique things with, you know, things that I like review here and stuff. But like, if I don't feel overall positive about it, I don't want to speak on it because there's enough negativity in the world. You know, And so
Absolutely.
that's kind of my mantra is I don't like to hone in on that negative energy. And obviously there'll be times every now and then where it'll get the better of me, but that's not what I'm about here,
Yeah, I think we need more of that, like in general. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of Kevin Smith, I remember just hearing him on an interview once. I think it was with Michael Rosenbaum, where he was just like, "What's the point of focusing on the negative energy? All it does is just drains energy, And so,
yeah, well,
he's 100% right.
I think it's like when you focus on it, it's like it makes you feel worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's like, like I used to do it a lot more than I do now, where it's like I would post something, whether it's like liking something or not, and then like somebody comes at me with negativity, and then I'm just like,
Yeah.
go just as hard back at them. And
Yeah.
then it's like you just sort of like you reach this moment of clarity where you're just like, it's like I'm arguing with like somebody in, maybe they're in the middle of Arkansas. Like I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I don't know if they are, who they say they are. I don't even know if they're human. Okay, it might be a bot or something. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Right.
and it's like, and it's just like wild that it's like I am letting this like random person like ruin my day because like they didn't, like something I said. It's
Yeah.
like who are they? It's just like,
Mhm.
and then I think like once that clicked in my head, I was just like, I don't need to do this. Like I could just post positive and like, and just not engage with like anyone who disagrees and not feel bad about it. So
Yeah, that's what I do.
I think it's a much healthier way to be.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. So good, great minds think alike, right? Isn't that what they say?
Yep. There you
go. So what all did you put in research wise for Masters of the Universe Genesis?
So a lot of it was like I watched the Netflix series. I did not like go out and like buy like the original series, but I was like watching a few clips. One thing that Dark Horse, I'm very like grateful they provided a lot, like all of the original mini comics.
Oh
Like
yeah.
because when they used to sell the Master of the Universe toys, it's like you'd buy the toy and then like inside the box, inside the toy blister or whatever was a mini comic, and it would just be like an adventure featuring, like if you bought like the Beastman one, it would be like He-Man fighting Beastman or something like that.
Sure.
And like that's something that's like an artifact of its time that like would be really hard to track down, because it's like I'm not going to go buy a bunch of like vintage toys, just to read these comics. And like,
right.
even if I did going to go buy all those toys, it's like, who knows if like the comics would even be still in the original packaging, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, so they got me that, and then that was really good. And then I was also reading a lot of like the fan Wikipedia stuff, because that those are great for like sort of like just give you like a summary of stuff, and then and like it's like, oh, okay, like that's an interesting character. Let me go track that down and read more and like watch about that. So that was really mostly what I did. I did also took a look at things like the Master of the Universe subreddit.
Okay.
Just to sort of like kind of get a feel for like what a lot of like fans were, kind of like taking the temperature of like what do people like, what don't they like, reading a lot of like criticisms of like various things. And that's not so much like to say I'd let that stuff guide me, but it was just sort of like it's stuff I just wanted to be aware of, what I mean? Because
that's fair.
like don't want to like step on a live wire unless I like intentionally like you know what I mean? So
I definitely get that. I think that's probably a wise decision at the end of the day. Trying to, That's the thing. I was gonna say, I wonder if there's certain things that Kevin Smith would have changed if he would have been cognizant of a couple decisions in the show that really seemed to peeve people off.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like that. When I said like intentionally, what I meant was it's like if it's a story I wanted to tell,
Yeah,
like, and it was going to piss people off, it's still the story I want to tell. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But it's like I want to like kind of go into it knowing, okay, yeah, like this is going to piss people off, so I have to like put a little extra care into like how I
right, right.
handle it,
Okay,
and you know, and just really like for me, I think it's like if I was going to do something like that, I would be like, okay, well, I really have to like get all the very small details right
hmm,
because I don't want somebody kind of like pissed off coming after me being like, well, actually, Skeletor's eyes are orange, not red. So you fucked that up because you didn't, like pick some
yeah,
small little detail, and
sure,
that'll be like kind of like the tip of the spear for them to like
right,
tear everything apart. So like that's kind of thing. It's like
yeah,
I really do
that makes
think
sense.
like when you're telling stories, like you can do like there's no like rules, like you can piss people
Sure.
off, you can do stuff, but I think it's like the important thing is it's like you want to do it like kind of intentionally. You don't want to do it as like an accident where like you didn't like do your research and you didn't like it's like you sort of like stepped on a landmine and
Sure.
blew up.
Yeah, definitely don't want that. So, uh, was this like Skeletor story something that you like had in your mind that you wanted to tell for a while before even this opportunity came about?
Not really, because like I never. It's not like I kind of went even like um when I was when I met up with Tim. It's not like I was like I got to meet up with Tim and talk about writing a Masters of the
Sure.
Universe comic.
Yeah.
I hadn't really had no idea that like it was even on the table. So it was like
Sure.
just when it all sort of came
Yeah.
together, it was like okay, great. Um, I think like there are certain aspects to the story where like I brought in uh, things that I like to
Mhm.
talk about in my
For sure.
stories. You know what I mean? I do like telling stories that kind of like sort of peel away like kind of like the masks that like ad people put on and
Mhm.
like really kind of like get to the core of like
Yeah.
what's driving them. So I think I was just sort of like able to like bring some of that stuff like into the story and talk about stuff that I really that really was on my mind like at the
Sure.
time.
Yeah.
Um, Skeletor is very power hungry, so a lot of the stuff that I tried to work in was just like about like what is it about why this lust for power like what is it about
Mhm.
power that he finds so like needful,
Yeah.
like um and it's a mystery like through I think through the like most of like the three issues it's like you're not really kind of like getting the whole story, and then I think like when we do kind of like really get down to the nitty gritty of it, like I think um, we found like a really interesting way to address it.
Cool.
Uh, so so yeah, like I think like it's not so much like I had this story in mind. It's just that like I
Sure.
had a lot of stuff on my mind that I brought into the story.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So, if I'm not sure how well this is something you'd be able to necessarily uh, answer, but would you say like how? What would you say is different about this story that you're doing that is compared to other Masters of the Universe projects or other comics?
Okay, like I think like especially like compared to like the original series and the movie as well, it's like we're definitely not leaning hard into like the camp of it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like we are. we are taking the world like at face value as like a
Mm-hmm.
serious thing. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of stuff in the movie of like, you know, like they even like did like the gag of like where they all like stand around in a circle, like ha 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 ha, ha
yeah,
with their hands on their hips, you know, like there's like awesome music starts playing and there's like a record scratch moment, and it's like I think that's like kind of like a symptom of like a lot of modern movies when they deal with this stuff, is it's like they're really kind of like afraid of like seeming uncool.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, you like that? Like what's wrong? But it's like, so it's
Mhm.
like, so this, but like, I think what we do a little bit differently is that it's like, we're just like unapologetically nerdy about it. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
there's stuff I love, like there's characters that I pulled in, or that Gavin wanted to do,
Mhm.
wanted to draw, and we incorporated it, and it's just like, it's not very like lighthearted,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
it is kind of like, you know, but it's not, but it's also, it's not like gritty for gritty's sake. You know what I mean? Like we're not doing like Skeletor, The Dark Knight Returns, or like, you
True.
know, Watchmen, Eternia, or like anything like that. Like,
Yeah.
and like it's not meant to be like, you know, um, so serious that like, you
Mhm.
know, it's like dark and grim and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
it's just not as like kind of like over the top and like self-conscious about like the source material. I think that like
Yeah.
a lot of stuff is.
Yeah. That's cool. Looking forward to it. Uh, and uh, and kind of in a similar avenue of like, do you think like what also was important that you had to make sure was included in the story to like, you know, make it feel the way you wanted it to for Masters of the Universe?
Well, I think like it was important to kind of like feel that like Eternia is like a big world with like a lot of history and a
Mhm.
lot of characters. Um, I think it was important to, as I said before, not like sort of like have the story sympathize with Skeletor in any way, or
Sure.
make him kind of
Yeah.
like, you know, feel like some big misunderstood villain or
Right.
something like that. And I think, you know, also just it was just important, uh, important for me at least, just to like, just for it to be like, um, a good and engaging story. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, and what I mean by that is it's like I didn't want to kind of like lean on the fact that it's like Master Universe to like,
Mhm.
um, sort of like carry water and like make it a good story and be like, oh well, you're a Skeletor fan, so you're going to read this whether it's good or bad. So I'm just going to kind of, you know, throw something together.
Mhm.
Like the ideal for me is like, it's like, yeah, like we are using all these characters and stuff, but it's like if I wasn't able to use these characters, like, and it was just sort of like its own story, like I feel like it would still be a good story.
Sure.
So that was important to me.
Yeah. That's cool. Uh, and what about just like in general too? Like, I mean, obviously outside the Skeletor, because obviously I think for me he's always my top like Masters of the Universe character, even more so than the
Mm-hmm.
main
Yeah.
character. But like any other like just in general like favorite characters you have?
Yeah. I really like, I like Trapjaw a lot. I think he's like got a really cool design, and
Yeah.
his toy was pretty awesome because you could like came with like a blaster arm and a claw arm and stuff like that.
Hmm.
I like, actually like Hordak a lot. I think
Oh
it's kind of like interesting that like you have Skeletor being this big evil, and then there's like this even bigger evil,
yeah.
you know, like, so we got to, you know, I'm not going to spoil anything, but like we did get to use him.
Oh.
Um,
Okay.
we, I love Fisto just because of how fucking ridiculous it is.
Right.
Like a giant fist.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, like there's no character like Evelyn. I
Yeah.
always thought she was pretty badass. Yeah, like I said, like I don't think any characters are like necessarily off the table. Like we definitely got to use everybody that we wanted to, and
Nice.
even got to drop in like a few Easter eggs and stuff where it's
That's
like, you
exciting.
know, in like a big battle scene, there's like,
Mhm.
you know, characters in the background. So I
Mhm.
was like, you know, like, hey, look, if you want to, you know, draw in, you know, Grizzlor or like something like that, or
Yeah.
you know, but yeah, so I think we had a lot of fun, like getting people in there.
That's awesome. All that is making me more excited to check it out, and I hope everybody listening is also, you know, on board with this too, which is really cool. It sounds cool. And also hearing that this idea of, you know, these 3-issue arcs, or at least beginning with one with Skeletor, I'm like, oh, what a great way to begin it too. Because I think that's for me the big selling point too, of just like it's beginning with Skeletor. There's no other way that you're gonna, no better way to bring me in, at least. And I'm sure
Yeah,
there's a
yeah,
lot of people that carry a similar sentiment, you know, and so that's
yeah.
exciting.
I mean, everybody has their favorite characters, but I really do think he was like very iconic and very
Yeah.
like, you know, like as much of like a draw to like Master Universe as He-Man is. Like I think
Yeah.
people just like love him
Yeah. I
or love to
definitely
hate him. I don't know. But
I definitely think there's an argument to be made that he is possibly the biggest character of the franchise, even more so than He-Man himself. And so,
yeah, I mean, like I know, like I went, I I've told this story a couple of times, but
mm,
it's like I dragged my mom to the toy store with fully intent on getting He-Man, not knowing anything really about it, fully
mm.
intent on getting He-Man, and then like I saw Skeletor, and I was like, no, I want that guy instead.
Yeah.
He just looked so much cooler. So
Yeah. Villains always have the cooler designs. That's just how it
yeah,
is.
yep.
so, uh, so anything else about Masters of the Universe that we didn't cover you wanted to share at all?
I don't think so. I mean, like the first issue's out August 5th. And like you said, FOC is coming up in a couple of weeks. So, you know,
It's an important
if
thing in the
it's all
comic.
possible to pre-order, like we encourage people to do that because it really helps us out. I'm going to be at San Diego Comic-Con this year and also at New York Comic-Con. So
Nice.
if that's like local for anybody, like, or you're planning to attend, I know at San Diego we're going to be doing a signing. New York, it's still a little bit early for plans, but
Sure.
you know, we might maybe doing something there. And I'm also going to be trying to set up a few signings like over the summer. Like I live in New Jersey, so like just maybe kind of like on the East Coast, like you know,
Mhm.
do a couple of signings like up and down the East Coast. So we'll see
Nice.
what happens.
Very
Yeah.
cool. That's exciting. So everybody stay tuned for that. Um, Before we do get out of here, though, I mentioned earlier that I did check out your horror trilogy.
Yeah.
Have the review of Road of Bones, and I was just want to also ask a little bit about like how was your experience working on those, and like what you learned from writing these different horror series, because it stood out to me that each one, you know, was their own distinct horror story, right? Each one set out to do something different, and that was a very distinct, I think, with all of them. I thought that they were all really enjoyable, and I think any horror fans should also go check those out. But
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
yeah,
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, like those horrors, like those three books were, I think, like huge learning experiences. Like each one, like
mhm,
you know, Road of Bones was like the first time I had ever attempted writing a horror story. Like
mhm,
I had mostly been writing like fantasy and science
mhm,
fiction and stuff, and I just had been doing some research and was reading stories about these like gulag prison escapes, and I was just like, wow, that's really interesting. Like
mhm,
that can make like a really awesome horror story. And then um, when I got Alex, the artist, on board, we were talking, and he's just like, and he's like, oh, he's like, he was like, you had me the second you said like Siberia. He's like, because I've always wanted to do something like set
mhm.
in the snow. You know what I mean? He lives in Vermont, so he's like surrounded by like snowy mountains for like
Sure.
half the year, and he's like, he's like, I look out in the mountains and I get like inspiration. He's like that, like a lot of the stuff in that book is stuff like he just, like sketching like out his window and stuff.
Nice.
Like, snowdrifts and stuff. And he's like, and I always wanted to do something on the ocean and something in a jungle. And I was like, okay, I could work with that. It was just like a matter of like finding like what those stories are going to be.
Yeah.
But it's like the second book, Sea of Sorrows, it's sort of like everything I learned about writing horror, like over the process for the bones, I put into Sea of Sorrows. And then everything I learned further about writing horror and tension and character stuff that was like sort of like the learning process of Sea of Sorrows, I put into Breath of Shadows, so they really do kind of like build on each other, and they were never really kind of like intended to be like a trilogy, like in the way of like, you've got like Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it wasn't a trilogy like that. It's more of a trilogy like in the way of like John Carpenter's like Apocalypse series, trilogy, or like the guy who did Edgar Wright did like Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz and The World's End, 3 movies that have like nothing in common other than the stars, like but they're also like in like a weird thematic way they kind of hang together,
right?
And that was kind of how we were trying to approach it.
Yeah.
In that it's like they're each their own distinct story, but I do think you kind of get a bit of a broader picture, like if you read them all, So encourage
definitely see that. And those stories, especially, I'll highlight too, I think are accessible. I think one of the things I like to highlight on the show is that, a lot of these stories you could go out and read in other places. I read all of those myself on Global Comics, which I think is a great, like, if you can only buy one subscription, I would say that one, because you get a little bit of everything there. Which is
it's great. I mean, for selfish reasons, I'd love it if people bought it, but I would be more happy if you just read it and like you read it on Global Comics.
I think it's also on Kindle Unlimited, I believe. So, but yeah,
it probably is. Yeah, Kindle Unlimited. There's like some libraries might have it. So
I know Hoopla's a big thing too, and I saw there's big Hoopla news as well about some new like indie publishing deal is happening there, which is cool. And so anyway, and then also just going off from the Your Sort of Horror trilogy, what about like where'd you get your like main inspirations for the main threats or monsters, which I feel like you sometimes put quotations around there, but
well, with all of those, like I think I was just sort of like looking at like the tension of like what's scarier at the end of the day. Some kind of like supernatural monster, or the kind of monster that lives in every human heart. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And like sort of like using history as that lens, because like history is full of like horrific events. You know what I mean? It's like, yet we still make up these like monsters. You know what I mean? So it's each story is just sort of like you've got this like supernatural element to it, but you've also got this like very human element to it, and it's almost like asking kind of like which one's worse, like I think like Rotovones is the one that's like the most ambiguous, and I know you guys like I listened to you guys like review it, and you were like at the end like like we don't know, like was it all in his imagination or was it like a real thing, and like that honestly was kind of like the point, you know what I mean? Like the reason I ended it that way, and the reason why I don't ever want to kind of like answer it definitively, is because it's like part of why I ended it that way was because I wanted people to kind of like have those discussions of like, like, is it in his head? Is it not? Which one's worse? You know what I mean? Like, is it worse to think that like there's this like supernatural creature like preying on him and preying on his mind, or is it worse that like hunger and extreme conditions could drive you to that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Sure. No, that's cool. I love when stories do that. And I feel like you don't get too many of them as well, of kind of questioning of like what is or isn't legit, right? And there's the first story that comes to my mind when I think of that is like the first what's his name, Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie, right? You can look at that and you're like, how much of that is really real or not, right? And you look into some theories that's like, wait, was just a majority of that just bullshit in his head,
Yeah,
so I love that.
Yeah, and like, or like, I one of my favorite movies is The Thing, and like at the end, it's like, it's these two guys survived, and then then there's this whole online discussion of like, is one of them secretly the Thing, like and like and it's like there's no answer because it's not in the movie, and I think it's great that it has no answer because it's like people keep talking about it,
Yeah.
So
for all these years. It's pretty cool. All right. Well, I just have a couple other things left here. As far as like other IPs or just anything, is there anything else that you'd really like to have the chance to write someday? Like anything like top on your wish list that you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that I would love to write if given the chance. I don't think it's gonna like surprise anybody that a lot of it is like Marvel and DC stuff, but
Sure.
I would love to write Ghost Rider someday.
Oh
I'd
my
love
god,
to write,
yes. He's one of my favorites. I
Doctor
support
Strange. Yeah, Marvel. I think I also have like I think I also really have like a really good Punisher story in me.
that. Okay. I can see that.
And then like on the DC side, I got to write Batman once. I really liked it, so I'd love to get to do that again.
Yeah.
Also a big fan of Superman. And I have a really fun idea with Lobo that I would love to do someday.
Oh yeah.
Probably won't happen for a while, if ever. But
I was about to say, what's his
Yeah.
name is killing it on Lobo right now. I can't think of his name. Oh my god,
Scotty Young.
Yes.
Scotty Young's like doing great, and it's like I don't know if that's like an act I would even want to follow.
You're right.
Sort of like, because you don't want to be like, you don't want people to be like, oh well, this is definitely not as good as Scotty's, but but I do just have like a fun premise that I would love to explore, and I think it would be a great time.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And if there's anything you can speak on, do you have any other sort of projects that's coming out other than Masters of the Universe? I mean, obviously that's the main thing. Go check out Masters of the Universe, but anything else you'd like to speak on?
Universe. Sure. Yeah. I have a story in there's this Boom horror anthology called Hello Darkness.
Okay.
And that's like every month it's like I think 3 or 4 short stories. So I have a story coming up in the July issue with my collaborator on the Batman short, Stevan Subic. It's a horror western. It's called The Man Who Outdrew Death. Really, really proud of it. It's like 10-page short, but really intense. So I think people would dig that. The other thing I have coming out is I don't know if you're familiar with Kyle Higgins. He writes Radiant Black and
a little bit,
and whole Massiverse stuff. Well, he has his own kind of like company called Black Market Narrative, and what he's started to do is through his newsletter, he has this feature called Black Market Presents, where we're running kind of like vertical scroll webtoon style comics.
I've not heard of this.
Yeah, there's a link to it. Like if you check out my newsletter, which you can sign up at douek.com, there's like a sign up page. But also like if you look at like his any of his social media, I'm sure it has like kind of like links to it if you do a little bit of digging. But yeah, it's really cool. So I'm doing this strip called Black Eye, which is it's kind of like I've been calling it supernatural, but like as if it was directed by like David Lynch. So it's like
Okay.
kind of, you know, so it's almost it's like the show Supernatural, or like Doctor Who is another good reference, or like Hellblazer. It's you know like
Yeah.
kind of like these like it's like very just like episodic.
Mm.
Um, the main character going after like different monsters and stuff like that. But it does get very like surreal and trippy, and having a
Okay.
really good time doing that. There's the first episode is out. The second one should be coming in like a couple of weeks. So I'm very excited about that.
Nice.
And yeah, and that's about it for now as far as like what I can talk about.
Sure.
Have a couple of things in the pipeline for probably late this year, early next year. So we'll see. I've been working with Mad Cave on a couple of things.
Okay.
They're a newer publisher, but really great people doing a bunch
Yeah.
of stuff. So
I've heard good things about him.
yeah,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming by and chatting all about Masters of the Universe and some other things. I had a great time having you here. I really appreciate it. And so
thanks for having me. I had a
absolutely.
great time talking to you.
Absolutely. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, everybody. All sorts of comic content here, such as other comic creator interviews and comic reviews and some other stuff here and there. Talk about Smallville on Saturday night. So go check that out, everybody. But thank you all so much for coming by and checking out this video. I'll see you next time here on the Dingus Den. Laters, everybody. Bye.